In this video, I'm going to talk about something that is incredibly common in modern society. It is actually really damaging to us as a human race and species. So subscribe and stick around to the end so you can find out what this thing is and how you can sort of get rid of it from your life. And before I get on to the kind of main content of this video, I'm just going to put a disclaimer. I'm not trying to kind of fearmonger here. However, this thing that is slowly killing you, it is affecting your health. It is affecting your future children's health, your fertility, and all that kind of good, healthy stuff. And this thing is plastics. And to define plastics is like a synthetic polymer which is commonly used to replace natural materials like wood and glass. Because plastics have been developed and are really cheap to use because they don't need to be formed at incredibly high temperatures and molded and stuff, they're a lot cheaper than your woods and your glass. This means that big companies use them to produce and manufacture their products. And the problem with plastics is that they are estrogenic and they imitate estrogen. And I'll get onto the effects of what that actually means and what kind of something being an endocrine disruptor and estrogenic actually means. But for now, I'm just going to talk to you like what kind of is plastics and where you can find plastics. There are so many things that are plastic in our modern society. The thing that I'm resting my phone on now is metal and plastic. The things that are like behind me, there's a box there that's plastic. Some of the backings of the book are plastic. The kind of skirting on the window is plastic. The like thing around the dartboard is probably plastic. I was probably wearing something that's plastic. Polyester, that's kind of plastic. There's so many plastics in modern society that you would have never thought of before. Like, you know what plastic is, but there are so many more things that are defined as a plastic which you can't even possibly think of. And one of the main problems with plastic is that they contain endocrine disruptors, which are things that disrupt your endocrine system and how your hormones actually kind of work around the body. And one of the main endocrine disruptors is bisphenol A, which you may have heard of before and was commonly put in receipts and plastic water bottles. However, since they've been like kind of removed and banned from manufacture, it doesn't really matter because companies just find another kind of plastic material that is able to mean that the plastic can actually function kind of like a plastic would, but it still means that it's estrogenic. And when you drink from a plastic water bottle, it leaches into the water and there's you're literally drinking microplastics. And we'll get onto microplastics later in the video, so stick around for that because that is really interesting and very important. And like you're drinking water from plastic, which is harming your fertility, harming your ability to have children. There's another thing, microwave meals. The kind of meal planning that you stick something in the microwave, you pierce the plastic lid, and you stick it in the microwave for like 4 or 5 minutes. When plastic is heated up, has an even worse effect as like a leaching kind of thing. When you heat this sort of plastic lid up, it will leach down into the food that you're about to eat. And these single-use plastics which can be heated up, they are such a problem to modern society because they just cause estrogenics and microplastics to kind of be in our food and drink. And long-term plastics such as kind of laminates and veneers, maybe the clear plastic water bottles that are like more than one use, they are not as bad, and I don't recommend like getting rid of all of those from like your current lifestyle, but don't buy anything that contains plastic, polyester ever again, basically. Because the problem is, what these estrogenics do is they imitate estrogen, which is the female sex hormone, and when these xenoestrogens, they imitate estrogen and they bind to the receptors, it signals to the brain that there's too much estrogen in the body and you need to stop producing testosterone, which is the male sex hormone, because testosterone is responsible for the conversion of testosterone to estrogen via the enzyme aromatase. Testosterone is converted to estrogen by aromatase, and the brain stops testosterone production if there's too many, or it perceives that there is too much estrogen in the body, and that means that you have low testosterone, and that has negative health effects on you as a man. And even as a woman, women still have testosterone, they still have estrogen. Testosterone is necessary for a woman's health, just as estrogen is for a man's health. But you need to regulate these hormones and not let kind of plastics and endocrine disruptors affect your health. And there is another growing problem with kind of plastics, and that is microplastics. I said we'd get onto this, but microplastics are the kind of the things that leach into plastics that may or may not be. Microplastics are the kind of things that leach into what you eat and what you drink, which may or may not be estrogenic. Some microplastics can be estrogenic, but some aren't. But they're still carcinogenic, which is something that is cancer causing, and if you breathe them in, we breathe microplastics in. There's an increasing concentration of microplastics in our air, and we literally breathe this carcinogenic stuff in, which kind of can settle in our lungs, or we breathe it out. But either way, it's incredibly bad for us, and it's in our tap water. All the plastics that we've dumped in the ocean, it kind of dissolves. It doesn't biodegrade, but it leaches out into the ocean. It goes into our systems. We end up drinking it from our tap water. We're literally drinking, living and breathing and eating microplastics. It's honestly just sad. It's like this is a bit of a rant, but it's tough to explain kind of what this stuff is, because it's really new to everyone in society. We've never experienced this kind of struggle with microplastics and plastics in general before. And microplastics is also commonly found in chewing gum. So don't ever chew gum again. If you want to build a bigger jawline, use one of the kind of exercise things, because you are literally eating plastic flavored mint. Just buy a chewing device, which you kind of, it's like a foam thing, which you sort of bite down on. If you were chewing gum to build your jawline, buy a chewing device. That's kind of like a simple switch up tip that you can do. Buy a metal water bottle instead of keeping on using single-use plastic water bottles, because it just leaches into your water. It's bad for you. Just never really drink from a plastic water bottle that's single-use ever again. Never ever use microwave meals, because you know that it kind of leaches into your food. And there's probably so many more things that you can research specifically, especially if you have the time. There's a huge kind of rabbit hole on all of this kind of stuff. So basically, all you can take from this video is to stop buying single-use plastics. Stop wearing polyester clothes, because they're also estrogenic. I think this might even be polyester, but especially your underwear, you don't want that to be kind of polyester and estrogenic. Stop buying the single-use kind of plastics and water bottles. Use a metal water bottle instead. Get rid of as many plastics from your environment as you possibly can. And I hope you found this advice useful. I hope I haven't kind of scared you too much about the death of our society, because this stuff is literally slowly killing you, your children, and your fertility. But if you need any other advice on anything kind of self-improvement related, my coaching calls are in the link in the description. So if you need any help, then you can buy them, or you can subscribe, because that's free. And I love this community of young tribal men who are willing to improve themselves so much more than they already have. So good luck.